The war unleashed by Putin in Ukraine has proven to be a heavy burden for Russia. The Kremlin dictator, who was confident and assured everyone that he could easily capture Ukraine in 3 days, is now asking for help from other totalitarian states. The struggle of Ukrainians against the invading Russia has been going on for 989 days. During this time, more than 700,000 Russian soldiers, tens of thousands of heavy artillery and tanks have been destroyed, and billions of dollars have been spent. The war, which Putin believed was supposed to end in 3 days, has turned into a long struggle of attrition. And now, when Russia is on the verge of collapse, when there are not enough Russians who would be ready to fight against Ukraine, Putin finds his salvation in a strategic military partnership with North Korea. North Korea has already sent 12,000 Korean troops to fight in Ukraine. This is an escalation on the part of Russia and a great threat to the Ukrainian state, although the reaction of the allies to this was very mild.
Ukraine is fighting not just Russia, but North Korea directly, and Ukraine's allies have not responded.
And if North Korea continues to send its troops to Ukraine, it could turn into a catastrophe of a large scale. Ukraine may simply not be able to withstand such assertive pressure. But this is only one side of the coin for Russia. On the other hand, Kim Jong-un, who is now in partnership with Russia and is sending his weapons and troops to Ukraine, will demand much more from Putin than he could afford.
Now that troops are involved, we have to expect that Kim Jong-un is going to be asking for more from Russia in return than he would have received simply for providing artillery, ballistic missiles, and other weapons.
As you know, North Korea recently launched an intercontinental ballistic missile that flew higher and farther than any other missile it has ever launched. North Korea has launched at least 7 short-range missiles, likely in response to joint exercises between the United States and South Korea. Expert Troy Sangarone warns that more weapons and supplies make a closed state bolder and more dangerous.
And so this takes and extends the war both into another country, but also takes and raises the stakes for the United States and its allies.
Volodymyr Zelensky says that if Ukraine had enough long-range weapons and permission to use them, it would launch a preemptive strike against North Korean troops. But the allies continue to delay this decision. Instead, Putin, who will see the allies in action, will be able to strengthen the North Korean military's contention at the front.
Putin перевіряє реакцію Заходу.
Putin is testing the West's reaction, testing NATO's countries' responses, and also checking South Korea's reaction. I believe that after evaluating these responses, Putin will make a decision to increase the troop presence. Today he acts like a sapper. I recently mentioned this to journalists. He is like a sapper in a minefield, assessing what will happen if he deploys this contingent. If nothing occurs, and I consider the current reaction to be negligible, effectively zero, then the number of North Korean soldiers on our territory will increase.
The strategic military partnership between the Kremlin and Pyongyang is very dangerous, not only for Ukraine. The alliance between these two dictatorial regimes takes the war beyond the Ukrainian front. According to analysts at the Institute for the Study of War, the consequences of long-term cooperation between these two dictatorial regimes could have implications for the stability of South Korea and the Asia-Pacific region.
South Korea understands that aiding Ukraine is beneficial for them at this moment because it also protects South Korea and is advantageous for Asia. I believe North Korea made a significant mistake in deciding to engage in conflict and support Russia because it will have adverse consequences for them.
Most likely, Kim Jong-un will send his soldiers to the war in Ukraine to give them real combat experience in the current war. The country has been isolated for many years and has not fought with anyone since 1953, and in order to prepare his troops for the reality of technical warfare, Kim Jong-un is sending his military to Ukraine to gain experience.
I expect them to be there primarily to learn how to collaborate, how a large army can organize itself. Particularly in this war, there are new elements like drones which North Korea previously lacked, but now they are realizing their importance. I believe they also want to gain a better understanding of how to use these drones to target their neighbors, specifically South Korea.
South Korea recognizes that the threat from North Korea has become greater. It has agreed with America to strengthen cooperation in defense technology. In addition, South Korea noted that if North Korea deploys its troops on the southern front line, South Korea is considering various scenarios to support Ukraine.
The world must closely monitor the evolving military cooperation between these two countries. In light of their actions, we will need to make appropriate decisions. Specific details cannot be disclosed at this time, but actions will be taken based on various scenarios.
The signing of the agreement between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin has created a number of strategic opportunities for North Korea that strengthen the country's position in the international arena. First, access to Russian military infrastructure provides North Korean intelligence with the opportunity to study the capabilities and weaknesses of the Russian army. This includes analysis of technical equipment, logistics, and tactical and strategic approaches. Knowledge of Russian weapons and defense systems could allow North Korea to adapt its strategies, increasing the effectiveness of its own military forces. Secondly, Kim Jong-un will have access to new Russian military technologies that can significantly improve the technical potential of the North Korea army. This applies to both ground equipment and technologies for the Air Force, air defense systems, and naval forces. In the context of international isolation and sanctions, this access is very valuable as it helps North Korea maintain technological parity with other states in the region. In addition, one of the most important aspects of this agreement is the possibility of North Korea obtaining modern Russian ballistic missiles. Such a deal could significantly strengthen North Korea's missile arsenal, making it an even more dangerous force in East Asia. Additional ballistic missiles, possibly with improved characteristics such as increased range or accuracy, would help Pyongyang more effectively threaten potential adversaries. All this is happening against the backdrop of deepening international isolation of both countries. And, for North Korea, cooperation with Russia is a rare opportunity to gain resources and new opportunities. Given North Korea's strong dependence on other states, this agreement allows Kim to maintain independence while developing his own military capabilities. Here's what military analyst Cedric Layton has to say about it.
So some of the possibilities are like what Oren mentioned in his reporting, and that would include that at a very strategic level, the North Koreans are going to get more Russian know-how for satellite operations, for nuclear weapons development, and potentially for nuclear weapons employment. So if that's the case, that could then really up the ante on the Korean Peninsula, and that really goes to your previous question, what happens in the Indo-Pacific. It could change the dynamics on the Korean Peninsula and potentially signal that the risk of conflict is much higher between North and South Korea than we currently anticipate.
It is clear that Kim Jong-un, in return for the troops and weapons provided, will use Putin to his advantage. The strengthening of the nuclear program, the acquisition of new ballistic weapons, all of this poses a great risk to world politics. Russia made a big mistake when it dragged third countries into this war, not to mention North Korea. For Putin in the short term, it is a good deal, but in the long term, it is like a loan with very high interest. In this difficult time, the price of Ukrainian territory is equal to a large number of human casualties. Dictator Putin could have ended this war in one day by stopping the shooting and withdrawing his troops from Ukrainian territory. But, as we see, he is only increasing the degree of tension on the front line, enlisting the support of other dictators. For him, ordinary people are just a fighting unit with which to realize his ambitions. Putin and other dictators are an absolute evil that must be destroyed forever. Thank you, friends, for watching this video to the end. We thank all the sponsors who support the channel. Thanks to your support, part of the funds goes to help the armed forces of Ukraine. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the latest developments. This video was prepared by Hustler. See you soon.